Welcome back. The African Union has held its first ever public debate in Ethiopia for candidates vying to be the chairperson of the African Union Commission. Take a look.
That we're going to ask each of you.
5 candidates vying to replace Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma as chairperson of the African Union Commission faced off in a live television debate broadcast across the continent on Friday. AU headquarters in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, was the venue where the 5 contestants, Amina Mohammed of Kenya, Abdoulaye Bathily of Senegal, Penelope Venson Motoy of Botswana, Musa Faki Mahamat of Chad, and Agapito Mbamokoy of Equatorial Guinea are aiming to be elected in January to replace South Africa's Dlamini Zuma, who will be bowing out that month.
The issue of financing the African Union is one of the major issues for this organization. It's about sovereignty of the continent.
We talk a lot about the young people, but what is the reality? Our young people are still dying, trying to find space and good life in other places.
The AU used a live stream to popularize the African Union and give candidates an opportunity to speak to Africans and present their vision of an integrated, prosperous and peaceful continent.
We have to make sure that women are protected, because when women are protected and are useful to the economy, they will raise healthier and more peaceful homes.
We need to talk to each other. We need to trade with each other. We need to move with each other, right? I'll give you the example of Kwame, a Ghanaian student. If we gave him the opportunity, he would actually be able to work in Kenya, to live in Botswana, to get married in Chad, and probably to invest in Senegal, right?
The live audience comprised members of the African Union Executive Council, African Union commissioners, members of Permanent Representatives Committee, invited guests and journalists.
Still in Africa, a former child soldier who was himself abducted by Joseph Kony's Lord Resistance Army has pleaded not guilty to 70 war crimes charges at the International Criminal Court. Dominic Ongwen, a top lieutenant of the LRA, is accused of war crimes ranging from child kidnapping and forced marriage to rape and murder during the rebel group's long rampage in northern Uganda. Dominic Ongwen, who was abducted and pressed into service as a young teenager in 1988 in the group's guerrilla war against the government of Uganda's President Yoweri Museveni, faces 70 charges at the International Criminal Court. Earlier, judges had rejected as a delaying tactic a last-minute request by defense lawyers to postpone the trial opening on the grounds that Kony needs psychological evaluation to establish his mental fitness.
The request to order psychiatric and/or psychological examination to ensure that Mr. Ongwen understands the nature of the charges is equally rejected.
Dressed in a sober suit, Ongwen appeared unsure of his surroundings. He was interrogated to establish if he was mentally fit to stand trial, and Ongwen said he understood the charges. But he insisted they were against the LRA and Kony, its leader. But the ICC prosecutor disagrees.
In each case, Dominic Ongwen played a prominent role in the planning and execution of the 4 attacks. On one notorious occasion, Mr. Ongwen ordered this boy and others to kill an old man by biting him and then stoning him to death.
Ongwen faces war crimes and crimes against humanity charges for attacks on refugee camps in northern Uganda between 2002 and 2005, including committing or directing acts of rape, sexual enslavement, and conscripting child soldiers. The charge sheet was expanded to focus on sex crimes when Ongwen gave himself up last year after a decade on the run. The case is the first to charge forced marriage and forced pregnancy, where women are made pregnant against their will. Here in Nigeria, the U.S. Consul General, Mr. John Bray, says Nigeria needs strong policies if it wants to get out of the current economic recession. Mr. Bray said this at the 2016 annual lecture of the Hubert Humphrey Fellowship Alumni Program, which was held at the Nigerian Institute of International Affairs, Victoria Island, Lagos.
Based on the American experience of dealing with recessionary economies, it is clear that there is no simple answer. There is not a one-size-fits-all solution. Different times, different circumstances require a unique set of fiscal and monetary policies. But I am confident in saying that the solution to the current recession in Nigeria is both inside and outside Nigeria. I am also confident in saying that policies do make a difference. They can make things worse or they can make things better. A big lesson we learned in the wake of the Great Depression is that economies stand to gain more by being open rather than isolationist. As a consequence of this, the United States continues to be the #1 destination for foreign direct investment for several reasons. First, the confidence foreign investors have that they will be treated fairly. Second, investors can repatriate profits. Third, rule of law is supreme, and contracts mean something. And finally, it's relatively easy to do business. In June this year, on the release of a report on foreign direct investment in the United States, Secretary of Commerce Penny Pritzker, who visited Lagos and Abuja last January, she said, quote, "Foreign direct investment in the United States reached a record $348 billion in 2015, contributing to our economic growth and demonstrating our continued global competitiveness." At the Department of Commerce, we work every day to strengthen America's best assets, such as our highly productive workforce and our commitment to innovation to ensure that the United States remains the most attractive destination for investment, end quote.
Outside our shores, it seems U.S. intelligence agencies believe Russia acted covertly to boost Donald Trump in the election race. The White House says U.S. President Barack Obama has ordered intelligence agencies to review cyber attacks and foreign intervention into the 2016 election and deliver a report before he leaves office on January 20th.
The President earlier this week instructed the intelligence community to conduct a full review of the pattern of malicious cyber activity related to our presidential election cycle. So he's requested this report be completed and submitted to him before the end of his term. Whether or not they dig deeper into motives, I'm not sure that will be a part of this review. So as we've made clear, we are committed to ensuring the integrity of our elections, and this report will dig into this pattern of malicious cyber activity timed to our elections, take stock of our defensive capabilities, and capture lessons learned to make sure that we brief members of Congress and stakeholders as appropriate.
Finally on the program, British Prime Minister Theresa May has committed funding to deepen defense ties with the Gulf as she warns of a threat to regional security by Iran during her speech at a regional summit in Bahrain. British Prime Minister Theresa May said on Wednesday, December the 7th, that she would seek to deepen defense cooperation with Gulf states and work with them to push back against Iran's aggressive regional actions. Addressing the Gulf Cooperation Council, Mrs. May told delegates that Britain wants to make a more permanent and enduring commitment to the long-term security of the Gulf by investing more than £3 billion in defense spending in the region over the next decade.
We will also go further in deepening our defence cooperation through a new strategic partnership between the UK and the GCC, supporting the development of your defence capacity and capability, including for humanitarian operations and crisis response planning.
She added that a nuclear agreement between Iran and world powers is vitally important for regional security.
I want to assure you that I am clear-eyed about the threat that Iran poses to the Gulf and the wider Middle East. The UK is fully committed to our strategic partnership with the Gulf and working with you to counter that threat. We secured a deal which has neutralised the possibility of Iran acquiring nuclear weapons for over a decade.
The Gulf Cooperation Council brings together the leaders of Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, the United Arab Emirates, Qatar, Bahrain and Oman. And that's it on Diplomatic Channel this week. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Temitope Fagbemi.